So it turns out Concord was even worse than anyone expected. And that's impressive, honestly.
So, Concord, notable video game failure, one of the biggest video game failures of all time. We talked about some of the developer reactions and comments beforehand. One of the developers calling haters talentless freaks. We had another developer shifting blame onto management and a bunch of.
This was the art person. Like hell, anyone in management cares about the damn art. No one's gonna buy this. It is such an insane deflect of your own inadequacies and failures. It's just pathetic.
Other stuff. Now, though, we have some exposés that I want to get into because it is quite astonishing what we are learning about Concord. It's gotten a lot worse. It just really shines a very negative light onto PlayStation management. $400 million is what this game costs. That's what we've learned today. We're going to get into those accusations and a lot more in a second. But first, we have this revelation. Concord's director steps down. A studio behind historic PlayStation flop waits for Sony's decision. Ryan Ellis. And as the Kotaku piece says, he formerly was at Bungie, where he served as creative director on Destiny 2. Ellis.
And you wonder why Destiny turned into a woke shit show. There you have it. Just a little bit more of those gay romance scenes, Destiny. Why not? And then the same people who ruined that go and ruin other games. Absolutely love it. This is why I have absolutely not even the slightest bit of remorse when I hear that people are getting fired in the games industry. Because you know who's getting fired? These types of losers. What kind of sadness there is to be had for these people? They would never shed a tear for you because they hate you.
Left in 2017 to lead development on what would eventually become Concord. He told staff at Firewalk last week that he would be stepping down from his game director role and move into a support role instead, according to 3 sources familiar with the change.
Failing upwards, the most magical thing in society. You know why these people can fail upwards? Because there's not enough people trying to take these positions. That's the reality.
And they talk about some other things about his role, how he really believed in the game. He had a lot of heart, but he is the scapegoat in this ultimately. And I do blame PlayStation management for a lot of the mistakes made with this. I have no idea how anybody thought an Overwatch reskin was going to be this successful, especially with the god-awful art design that they were going with. Just
I don't think it's a problem of Overwatch being reskin here. It's the fact that everything about this game sucks. The characters suck, the wokeness sucks, the gameplay is slow and, well, pitiful.
none of this sounded appealing in my mind. As soon as we saw that first trailer, we were all like, uh-oh, this looks like a giant flop, but they couldn't have spent more than $100 million.
Yeah, that's what we thought at
They
first.
spent a lot more than that.
400K
Anyway, it continues
boys.
on. Sources told Kotaku that Ellis was too emotional to speak at points during a post-launch studio-wide meeting. I mean, if you just wasted $400 million, I'd be pretty emotional too. I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to be somebody who's leading creative.
Yeah, imagine that. You work at Bungie, you make all of your story revolve around being gay and all your characters gay, and then you move on to the next game, do the same, and now you're like, oh, how could this not work? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, because you live under a goddamn rock.
On projects in the future in the gaming industry, especially after this historic flop. After it became clear that the game was bombing, which, yeah, he must have been there day one seeing those 600 players on Steam like, holy crap, why is it doing this bad? But it was obvious to all of us. Some outsiders speculated that Concord might relaunch near the end of this year or early in 2025 as a PS Plus exclusive or free-to-play game in order to get more players to try. It doesn't matter. The open
It's
beta
not gonna
happened.
work.
This happened a couple of months before the game actually released, and there was barely over 2,000 players there. When it was an open beta, free-to-play, there was no interest
Gee, I wonder why. Why did no one care to play this dump?
in this. They can redesign, make a battle pass and all of this shit, but most people aren't interested in this game, especially when there's better options on the table. You have what Valve's producing right now, Marvel's Rivals drops soon, Overwatch is still cooking. There is no room, there is no audience for Concord. The modern
To be fair, that people are still playing Overwatch means that something can replace Overwatch, because the people who are playing Overwatch don't care about it, or they care way too much about it. There are only two shots.
Modern audience did not show up because there is no modern audience. It continues saying, but for many within this studio, it's still not clear what will come next. Three sources told Kotaku they are pessimistic Concord will return. I'd be pessimistic as well. I don't think it will. And I think all analysts have pretty much said that there's really no hope for this game, even if it went free to play. And some have been asked to explore pitches for something completely different that Firewalk, which is currently around 150 to 170 employees, might work on next. And remember, these employees are in Washington. A very expensive place to live and a very expensive studio. Speculation among staff has also included whether the studio could be used as co-development on one of Sony's myriad other first-party projects currently in production.
Oh gee, I hope they take these losers and put them in work for another game. I think that's gonna be great.
You know, the 1,000 remasters that we're getting from PlayStation, that's probably what they mean. Others, however, feel like mass layoffs will be most likely a result of Concord's failure, including the possible shutdown of the entire studio, which sources tell Kotaku is one of the most expensive studios in the PlayStation portfolio on a per-head basis. And again, if you have 150 to 170 employees there in Washington, they're probably all making six figures, well over $100,000.
Sad.
So yeah, it has to be a lot of money that's being invested into the studio, and they produced less than 1 fucking million sales. So it's not surprising that Sony would, you know, go this avenue if they do. But I don't know what Firewalk could produce. They have to spend another 5 years on another game, and who knows what that'll end up being. And there's really nothing that indicates that Firewalk can come back from
pure disgust.
This level of a disaster. So if the studio does get shut down, it just would not surprise me. Now, this brings us to Colin Moriarty. I love Colin Moriarty. I love Last Stand Media. Those guys are awesome. Shout out to them. I'm going to have a link to their Patreon and everything. Support them. Colin used to be a reporter at IGN, you know, infamously. He left.
This is the video I wanted to watch. Oh. Got it.
Funny Games years ago. He's been kind of, I guess you could say, a lot of the video game industry doesn't like Colin because of some of the things he said. He's notably a libertarian, so very different than the liberal voices that you often see from those California outlets. But Colin actually has a source on Concord, and they have some startling revelations that I thought we have to go over, and I have to react to this because it is truly astonishing. It really makes this failure look so much worse, not just for Firewalk and what they were producing, but also PlayStation and their management over all of this, and the fact that they acquired this studio. And as Colin's tweet says, here I spoke extensively with someone who worked on Concord, and it's so much worse than you think. It was internally referred to as the future of PlayStation with Star Wars-like potential. Yes, somebody saw.
Yeah, literally the next GTA, effectively. And the toxic positivity is also insane. Bruh, everything about Concord is like the most insane crap you have ever seen in life.
Those that Overwatch reskin and thought this is the next Star Wars. True delusion that was going on behind the scenes. And the dev culture.
I wonder if this has anything to do with woke being a mental illness. Well, I guess we can only speculate, but the evidence is piling up real fast, may I add?
Of toxic positivity halted any negative feedback, like, hey, why do we have Humpty Dumpty and Humpty Dumpty 7 feet tall? Who's actually going to be interested in these character designs and their god-awful outfits? I guess nobody was allowed to say any of that stuff. And yeah, he says $400 million. But this is specifically what Colin says. There's so much more details here. If this was a Kotaku or Bloomberg piece, I'd be going line by line, but it is in video form. And again, I would say that Last Stand Media, love those guys. They do some amazing coverage. Make sure to support them if you can. Link in the description down below. But here's what Colin had to say from his own source at Concord.
And someone who worked on Concord reached out to me, and I verified who this person was and went through all of that and talked to this person extensively, for a long time. Ooh. And got some, I think, interesting information that I can share about Concord. I think people will be interested about it. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it. So the big thing that you really need to know here about this is that Concord cost about $400 million to make.
Oh my god.
And
That is so insane, though.
It's just so irresponsible to spend that much money on an unproven IP like this, but it shows that how out of touch PlayStation management was. And now you understand why Jim Ryan was running to retirement, why he got the fuck out of there. His live service mission has been a true disaster. Other details that have come out about Marathon also appear like that could be another massive disaster.
Yeah, effectively, who's gonna give a shit about Marathon at the end of the day? It's just... Are you interested in Marathon? I'm not. Why would I be?
On the way. Fair Games doesn't look all that much better. The game's theme is Eat the Rich, and it looks very cringy. That first trailer was mass disliked for a reason. PlayStation's live service ambitions have been up in flames for a while now, but fortunately we have a bunch of Horizon multiplayer games on the way, because that's exactly what people wanted, and the only live service that people actually fucking want.
He's not talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, is he? Who the hell wants a multiplayer game of that garbage?
Wanted was Last of Us Online. They hyped that up, spent years working on that, it just got canceled. That was the only thing that, if you're gonna spend $400 million, spend it on the proven IP that is on top of the world right now thanks to the HBO series.
There's someone outside talking. I can barely hear it. Like I can hear that there's people talking outside. It's kind of off-putting.
But I guess these PlayStation executives are so fucking out of touch that they didn't realize this. That's true. All you can do is laugh at the poor management, piss poor management. $400 million.
The story goes that Concord, by the time Concord was, so in the first quarter of 2023, Concord had basically entered an alpha state. This was before.
Also, remember the fact that they effectively have been making Concord for 11 fucking years.
Sony had even purchased the team. But Sony had been working with Probably Monsters, which was the original owner of Firewalk and Firewalk, probably since late 2020, maybe 2021 at the latest, on Concord. The game was in development before that. Up to the point that the game went into alpha state, they had already spent about $200 million on it.
Nice.
So yes, so before Sony even got involved, this project had already cost about $200 million. It had already been worked on for a couple of years. I think, yeah, the Ryan Ellis, the director, left Bungie in 2017. So this was an 8-year development, 8 years of development that was being worked on, somewhere around there at least. The idea from conception to
Concord in total took 11 years, as much as I understand. 8 years development, but it was floating around for 3 additional years. Effectively. And you know what's the funniest part about this? Someone at PlayStation looked at Concord and said, yes, this is the future of gaming, obviously. Let us do everything.
To full development to what we ended up getting a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, $200 million.
But you know what? I can't even blame these people for selling it to PlayStation, because someone did their job really well. They saw a piece of shit, and they marketed the hell out of it to PlayStation, because PlayStation are a bunch of clueless hacks who don't actually know what people want. So, you know, selling shit to PlayStation is probably going to be a pretty decent thing that a lot of companies figured out that they can do, because they just don't even know what gamers want.
And they were thinking, let's just keep on pumping this up, not worrying at all, looking at all the other live service disasters in this industry. Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, so many proven IP that ended up going down flames, but they thought that this was going to be something that was going to click with mainstream audiences, especially when all of these hero shooters, most of the successful ones, are free to play. They don't cost money. There is no paywall to get in. It just shows how out of touch Sony's executives were with all of this.
And it's unclear how much of that money is from Probably Monsters and the original investment.
I don't actually think it's too much of a problem that the game actually has a buy up front price. It can succeed. We have seen games succeed doing that, but they're better games than Concord. Well, they're actual games.
Into the game, and how much of that money was from Sony. There's this term in product development, not only with games, but really with everything. You can like manufacture a tchotchke. You guys might have heard of it. It's called minimum viability, or a minimum viable product. The idea behind this, or MVP, the idea behind this is that this is like what you're trying to achieve, and it's like once you cross this barrier, you feel comfortable selling it. It's not that it's the best it can be, or that it's what it's going to be by the time you launch it, because there's all sorts of extra.
Okay, this is a stupid explanation. Minimal viability is effectively this. We do this thing, we break even and probably make some. It's better than not making any money at all, so there you have it. That's just in the shortest terms possible the concept.
Stuff you do to it, but like, this is the minimum viability of the product. When the game had already had $200 million spent on it and was basically in an alpha form in quarter one of 2023, from that point until the game launched, Sony spent another $200 million on it.
It's so irresponsible.
The scuttle.
I guess I'm just going to pause right here real fast, but I think what irritates me so much about Sony is that we're halfway into this console generation and we really haven't gotten much. And some of the leaks from the next State of Play says that we're getting a Days Gone remaster along with a Horizon.
Yeah, no one's making anything new. Everyone's lazy. Everyone's afraid of trying anything new because, well, this is one example. Try something new like Concord, it fails. Considering they don't understand why Concord fails, they just think, well, we can't make anything new because people don't like new things. Everyone just wants to play old games, which is completely blatantly false. We would play a good game if it was a good game. There are so many good games that have come out and they're effectively unique. Helldivers 2 came out, was an absolute success. Baldur's Gate 3, obviously. Cyberpunk, despite all the mishaps, it was still an absolute ginormous success.
Zero Dawn remake of some sorts. That's what we're getting. Where are these new games? Apparently Tom Henderson of Inside Gaming indicated that.
But soon this is going to stop because even old franchise mismanaged as much as they are not making enough money. Look at this. Star Wars, a ginormous IP, should be making billions. Ubisoft gets its hands on it and it's dead. No one wants to buy it, it's garbage. Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be bad because it's not about old, new, or whatever. It's not even about innovation. It's just about, in general, being good. Starfield's a failure. Everything is a failure because they're just not good.
There's a bunch of projects on the way, but there's...
And also, well, I actually don't want to watch this video because I kind of get the gist of it. I haven't watched this, but effectively it's just the gist of it. They overblew their shot. They thought that this is going to be the next big thing, the literal next GTA. And the toxic positivity around this product was legit. Anyone who did not say that this is going to break the world in half because how grand it's going to be pretty much got fired and things like that. So there's not much to honestly say here. Anyway, that was our boy Legacy Kill HD. What a boy. Anyway, bye-bye.